Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Shiva Baby. I know I'm reviewing this sorta extremely late, but I finally got to see it, and I really like it a lot, actually. I think what I like about this film is it captures basically a family gathering and all the humor, especially the stress and the chaoticness of the whole thing, trapped in one day. And although I'm not Jewish, I've been to a Shiva or two. I wouldn't consider myself a person of any sort of knowledge on the subject whatsoever. It did feel very authentic, but it felt authentic in a way that you rarely see. The tension, the suspense, how hilarious, how frustrating and embarrassing kind of a big family gathering can be. And I think Emma Spelgman, who directed her first feature, is a very impressive first film, and a very impressive it all takes place in one day kind of movie, because it captures one of those days so perfectly while also showing different genres at the same time. Almost like this weird postmodern piece that feels incredibly authentic in a way that might feel at odds with what it's actually doing, like how it's taking on things with horror and I think screwball comedy and things like that, but that's how those things feel. And I don't know, this was glorious. I actually I again saw this twice because I was just kind of really into it, much like No Sudden Move recently, which this film has nothing really in common with. I guess they're both on HBO Max. But so this film is about a girl named Maya who is about to graduate college, hasn't yet, and you kind of open with her sugar daddy. She gets a text from her mom and she needs to go to a Shiva for a sort of family friend. We never really find out why, which makes this kind of even funnier. She goes there and she says goodbye to her sugar daddy, like, I'm gonna get brunch or whatever, and she goes there. She already sees her kind of best friend and / girlfriend at a time. Her parents are there, and their characters played by Fred Melman and Polly Draper, who are both amazing. They're really good in this movie. Then she finds that her sugar daddy is also there, and also that he is married to Diana Agron, who is called a Shiksa goddess, though I think she's actually very Jewish. I'm not sure about that. Maybe I should have figured that out first. But it's also surprising because you don't normally see her in a film like this. So she shows up, and so you have the awkwardness of her there with her ex-girlfriend, her sugar daddy's wife, and her sugar daddy's baby, as well as her parents, and all the judgment of, what are you going to do with your life? I thought you were a babysitter. Are you a babysitter? Or you're studying gender? Is there a career in that? You have interviews lined up. What's going on there? All the tension and stress of having to explain yourself to your extended family and family friends, all wrapped up into one crazy movie where she's not sure what to do with the sugar daddy, decides to send him sexy pictures in the middle of the Shiva, all sorts of crazy stuff. It reminds me of a mix between The Philadelphia Story and Uncut Gems, and I don't think that makes sense, but in this movie it flows so well. It is just amazing. I really like the performance by Rachel Sennett, who's the main character, Maya. She is really good at, she's almost it's kind of a hard role to play because it's you're the lead, and the lead's not always the most fun. Whereas supporting is way more fun. But she does a lot of reacting. She does a lot of letting the other people shine, but as well as you are so, as an audience member, I was so with her. I was like, oh my God, I've totally fucking been there. I haven't had my sugar daddy show up. He never shows up at family gatherings. But the tension of it, the people stopping you to see what's going on with you, and you're like, I haven't talked to you 5 years, what the fuck, why do I have to speak to you now? And all those things with her, just both her reactions to it, but her face, she has one of a really great lead performance, and it is often very funny. And I think her and most leads Molly Gordon, Polly Draper, and Fred Melman all kind of play it that way. But then the score, which I think this is always interesting, the music by Ariel Marks is really great. But I think what's interesting is I didn't hear this interview, I heard people paraphrase it, so I apologize if it's not the greatest way to source something, which is my fault. But I heard this director doesn't really watch horror movies and didn't request this kind of music. The person who's making the score kind of interpreted it that way. To me, it's more like screwball comedy, and the composer added this whole extra element to the movie, which fits so perfectly. And I love the tension of it. It really does feel like a tense thriller where you're is she ever gonna get out of this? Is this gonna end in violence or something? It just it just perfectly complements this movie. It is one of the best uses of music I've seen to heighten an element, but it also shows you one of the things film is really good at is collaboration and other people bringing things to the table that the writer-director Emma Spelgman didn't bring to it, but the composer did, and and helped like make this film even better. That's one of the great things of filmmaking, is you have someone else doing the music, someone else writing and stuff, and you get that mixture of them all together, and that's really what you get here. And it's just, I love that about it. Also that like she is bisexual, she's dealing with her girlfriend, she's dealing with her sugar daddy. It just feels like that lost period. If you're like had that year where you're not really sure what you're doing, and then suddenly you have to explain it to like every aunt and fucking uncle in the damn world, like you have a press release prepared, which he sort of does, but those fall to pieces after a while, because you know when you were 8 you really opened up, and now they feel like they totally fucking know you. I felt that family gathering there. I've been to those gatherings. I heard about family gatherings going that wrong for people before, but now it's like having lived through it, and especially just like, oh my goodness. And I also didn't know Diana Agron was in this when I first watched it, so when she showed up I was like, what the fuck? like I forgot about her. And she's very good, I think. Like, she has comedic chops. I mean, she was on Glee. Whether you like that show or not, you're going to get some acting training from a rigorous schedule, like with the dancing and the singing and the jokes. I really love this movie. I think it is like one of the perfect one day kind of movies. It's like embarrassment thrown on the screen. I know like embarrassment comedy is not as big as it used to be like 10-15 years ago. This is like a master class in trying to do that, because it is like, I haven't seen screwball comedy done like this in the modern sense since Mistress America, but it reminds me of a screwball comedy, but it's not like pushing it out as much. Most screwball comedy goes like really off the rails, and this is like relatable and understandable and things you would see happen. And then I just found that to be just amazing. And the performances from her parents, I think I usually see Fred Melman be a little more like threatening, less jokey dad. I don't know his whole filmography, but Polly Draper was like the perfect Jewish mother. It was like, she was like, I like when she was like, Mom, you don't have good gaydar. She's like, I lived in New York in the 80s. My gaydar is spot on. Or something. That was funny. I've definitely heard people who lived in New York in the 80s. If anyone got questions about something like that, they're like, no, shut the fuck up. I've heard that line before. It was very good. It did feel claustrophobic. It did feel, it is like one of the most tense, funny movies I've seen in a long time. And I really like how original, and this is just a great movie. And I think often what I've been doing, because I do kind of watch movies on my way to work, because like the subways are kind of empty now and I can actually sit down, and I've been watching stuff, and I end up watching this twice just because I just related to it so hard. And I think oftentimes when you have to do family gatherings when you're older, and you have to like overly explain yourself or talk to like 30 people, which is like insanely exhausting, but then you have the same thing. This reminds me sort of Young Adult, the Jason Reitman movie, which I also really liked. And I think the similarities is because it kind of reminds you of both like what you should not be so tense about, and also why you were tense in the first place, why family gatherings are so hard to get through and things like that. And I think this one is, maybe it kind of calms you down, because you're like, it'll be okay, it'll be over eventually. But when you're in it, oh man. And it sort of reminds me, actually, especially the end, and I don't know if this is like, I feel like some of these references I'm throwing at this are like maybe just me, because I haven't seen them in other reviews. I don't think I'm like blowing the lid off the thing. It's just maybe my own personal experience or something. But if The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, which is a film I really love actually, the ending sort of reminded me of that movie a little bit, and it's like the perfect ending. Like, so much of this is weird and surreal and strange, but you're like, yeah, but that's a family gathering, you know what I mean? And it's like that, I love that kind of stuff, where it's like, let's do all these like postmodern, like combining genres and styles and stuff like that. But if you didn't know all that, it's still like a really great movie by itself. Like it can work as just like, oh, this is a one day thing, but it's like combining all these styles. This director, you know, M.S. Spellman knows what she's doing. This is an all around great movie. I really love Shiva Baby quite a lot. I'm probably gonna watch it a few more times, because I just think it is like almost like sort of a masterclass on how to do one of these films and combine genres and everything like that, and almost feel like it's all invisible, and feel like it was far more simply made than really the complexity and the theories they had to make it look as simply made as it is. This is a great movie. It's probably one of my favorite comedies of the year, and it just reminds you of probably why you never want to go to one of these things, and also why you know you're stuck going to these things for the rest of your fucking life. So if you have seen Shiva Baby and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.